welcome back. Let's see, what do we have here? Today we have a conversation with Ken R. Barnes, Esquire, Supreme Court of Louisiana. And I don't know. What can I say about Ken? He's we're pretty much at odds on pretty much everything. And here he is on the Supreme Court of Louisiana, a lawyer for the Supreme Court. You can make up your own mind about Ken, and you know, primarily that's what I do here. My arguments out here are the conversations I have with people. My opinions I usually bring up in the conversations. Analyzing them and going through them here is something I might do from time to time, but for the most part, it is as it is. And I let the chips fall where they may, and then allow you to go ahead and make your own opinion, judging from the conversation you hear. I tend to think that what I've said, when everything is racist, then nothing is racist. And I think that's where Ken is. It seems like everything is racist, so to me, it's nothing is racist. You guys to me, there's got to be a point where you let it lie. It's got to be a point of we're out using it, the term, or making it be a pun here. Sometimes things are just black or white, and they don't have anything to do with race. But I don't think Ken sees it that way. Anyway, you make up your own mind. This is a good conversation. I sure hope this guy comes back to talk again, because there are a lot more points I think we could go over and possibly learn from one another. Some of the things that I didn't mention in this conversation, you'll see in some of the comments I made that I could have brought up that would have made a point to him. Anyway, it's a good one. It's a good one, and I sure hope this guy comes back, because, after all, he is in a position of influence. And if I can influence someone that's in a position of influence, hey, what do you know? So you know what I'm doing out there. Keep me out there, okay? And the way you do that is by going ahead, subscribing and liking and sharing these videos, and then supporting me. And go to my shop and get one of my designs, or just go directly to the PayPal account or become a patron. Please do, because this is a fight. If you're going to be in it, you got to contribute one way or the other. So let's get to it. God bless you. It's a spiritual battle. We're fighting on a material plane. Give me the material I need to stay out there. Let's get on the street.
So where are you from? What do you do?
I'm from here. I'm an attorney.
Oh, terrific. What's your field? What do you practice?
Criminal justice reform.
Oh, terrific.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yes, in one vein, I disagree with everything you're saying, but I do think that individuals like Paul Manafort and Roger Stone should not be held on bail. They should be released into the community unless they show themselves to be a threat either to the community or to themselves, or that they're not going to show up. At some point, we'll receive justice after they're adjudicated, either the justice of them being found not guilty or the justice of them being found guilty. Yeah. That's up to the jury or their peers.
Do you think the reason they're being harshly treated is political?
Everything's political, and everything's about race. So it all comes together. Like this guy right here, he's a racist. Everything he does deals with race, but also the hate that people, or the disdain that people have for him, is politically charged too, because the politics that he has is the politics of xenophobia.
I would disagree with you. I would go to court with you on that one.
He's racist?
I don't think he's a racist at all.
Yeah. This guy that's in charge of the alt-right?
No, I don't think he's racist at all.
Okay.
I mean, if you watch his videos, the man does want to engage and talk, and I've seen him have great conversations with Muslims, anybody.
You know who my dad had a great conversation with, and if you can't tell, my dad's black.
No.
Right. He had a great he had a long conversation with David Duke. Just because you can have a conversation with someone doesn't mean you dislike them.
Oh, no. But the conversations were amiable. They were good. They were constructive. There was no hate, no projection of hate, no anything involved of it. I think, if I may.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to keep trying to interrupt you.
No, I'm interested more in what you have to say because you're an attorney. But watching his metamorphosis from the start, I think he's more interested in seeing his country, the culture, being changed by the sudden influx of people that are going to have a hard time assimilating into the culture.
Well, that's racist. Because at no other point has any group been told that they have to assimilate. When Caucasians came into the country, Native Americans never said, wait, we need you to assimilate. Now, once we start having brown and black people in the country, or assuming some level, a modicum of power or position in the community, now they're being asked to assimilate. We went from being a melting pot of you bring what you have to now come in and be like us. And that's a very racist trope because you're constantly asking the minority to be more like the majority, but the majority is never asked to do anything. It's just to exist.
Do you believe that some cultures are better than others?
I think that's a value-based, subjective question.
Do you believe it?
I would need an example, but
let me give you an example.
Yeah, the examples off the top of my head, I can't think of one.
Let me give you an example. Let's pick the Islamic culture right now, where gays are thrown off a building, women are, it's a very patriarchal. Women are treated like second-class citizens. They can't drive. They have to walk behind their husbands. They're treated like, no. And you go to Saudi Arabia or any of these other countries,
I have a lot of
Sharia law in itself is extremely patriarchal. And I can point out articles today that I read where people are being persecuted just for making a tweet or statement.
That happens in this country too. And I'm not playing what about?
Well, that doesn't make it right. But I'm saying those cultures.
If you're saying cultures, if you're comparing cultures, I'm thinking that America's your baseline, right? Or are you comparing Islam to another culture?
Well, again, some cultures are better than others. Yes,
well, we're comparing it to American history. I mean, historically, we have jailed people for the communication path. Not bestiality, but anal sex between two men is still illegal here in Louisiana. That law has not been abolished. We have thrown Japanese people in internment camps because they were born Japanese. We had slavery. So to look at it and just say, we're better than them, we may not do all the terrible things that we did yesterday, but that does not put us in a place of moral hierarchy where we can legislate down towards another group. Maybe we should have a conversation and say, how can we fix this? But when you get into any type of theocracy, yes, you're going to have atrocities like that. And when we try to be a monotheistic or a theocracy here in America, just like in other countries, we have this similar issue.
Well, I don't think that's the point. I think the point is that to follow our laws. In other words, when you come and say Sharia law is completely an antithesis to the American Constitution.
Not all parts of it.
Sharia, the one thing about Sharia, the one thing about the Muslim law, so they certainly do not separate politics and religion. Their religion is their politics.
Mm-hmm. Well, the difference between them and what we have in certain parts of this country, right? It's like you have a lot of politicians that say, I love God first, God first, God first, and that's their prerogative. But here we basically just have a fictional separation of church and state. I mean, you go to a lot of courthouses here and you have the 10 Commandments. I mean, our laws are based off the commandments. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but they're just basically just pulling the sheet that separates and saying this is what it is. We say, oh no, this is separate from it, but actually it's the same. We are very
and indeed, as a lawyer, there's a lot of it has to deal with the interpretation and the application.
Yeah, certainly.
I mean, like you say, our laws are based off of the Christian edict. which is not a bad thing. But if you were to take it, let's say, to an extreme, like to a Puritan extreme, then it can become, a bad thing.
We wouldn't eat
but
shellfish.
The one thing you brought up is that we should have a conversation about these things, which I believe that's what this man was trying to do. And the fact that he's being persecuted heavily by the government is because one of the...
What government's persecuting him?
Well,
the Republican government?
UK.
Oh, okay.
UK, heavily.
Well, you just because you have a freedom of speech in America does not mean that what you say is not going to be criticized, and does not mean that you'll be accepted in other countries outside of America. So if you want to express your free will and your free power to say whatever you want here, you got to understand that there will be people that disagree with you, and there will be countries that say, we don't allow that. David Duke, for instance, can sit here and say white power, white people are on top, and espouse all that. But when he goes over to Germany, that doesn't fly. So yeah, you can't.
Well, it depends on who you speak to in Germany too.
Well, the Germans can't even have conversations. They don't even joke about because they know
they've gotten to the point now where they're so guilty about what happened that they've gone like 180 degrees in the other direction.
As they should be.
I think even that can be damaging.
No.
Well, damaging effect.
I'm sorry. I have a bad habit of talking over. I'm working on it.
That's all right. I do too. So it's all right.
No, it is totally proper. It is insulting whenever a group of people or a contingency is affected by someone's bad acts, and then immediately after, the majority says, "Oh, well, that's the past. We need to just move forward in conciliatory terms." It's like, no, you need to repent for what has gone wrong, and there needs to be some sort of reparation. And if we continuously run from that, even if we were to have some type of form of like stopping of issues, and then you move forward, well, there's a group that's benefited from the period of time that the other group has been persecuted or put in bondage or has been detrimented, and then you're asking them to start from their point of detriment at that period of time that other group has had a head start. So then at that point, you're going to always have a gap between the haves and the have-nots, because it's going to be impossible for that group that's been persecuted to catch up to the group that wasn't.
By contrast, I've spoken to many people that were of color, or, that would be in a privilege, that have pulled themselves up, paid no attention at all to the alleged inequalities.
Well, it's not alleged,
and like you did, I think you're a self-made man. You pretty much educated yourself. You pulled yourself up.
You don't know my experiences.
But I'm just assuming. Yeah. I'll give you one example I like to bring up. It's a lady that lives here. She teaches at Tulane. Professor Iris Mack. Grew up in the projects here. Large family. No affirmative action. Took advantage of nothing else. Harvard scholarship, MIT, was recruited by Larry Summers to work on Wall Street. And she absolutely pays no attention whatsoever to any racist, I was underprivileged, I didn't have it. She says, I just went out and did it. And she did it with her own initiative, with her own mind, with her own abilities. So she didn't, without having to look at, say, oh, I've been suppressed or my people have been suppressed, just went ahead and did it.
Well, I will say she's the exception. And
that's what we are as exceptions. And why should we look to other people?
We are all exceptions in individual points and places, right? I don't know what your talent is, but I'm pretty sure you have a talent, right? What's your talent?
I don't know, this is it.
Well, other than this, are you good at tennis? Are you good at basketball? Are you good at football? Are you good at coding? You're good at something specifically, right? That's what you're exceptional at. We aren't exceptional people. We're all average, and we have exceptions to certain things. And there's certain people who, in the average of the group, I bet you if you poll 5 individuals that grew up with her, the other 4 would not be in the same place as she has, because that's the general.
So are we supposed to do what? In other words, we all need equal opportunity, but we're not all equal.
Well, you need equal opportunity, but you also need equality, equity. So you need.
That's very socialist. That's very communist.
No. A rising tide raises all ships, right?
Fine, but again, we all have equal opportunity, but we're not all equal.
Yes, but if you don't just necessarily need equal opportunity, you need equal access. So just because you say... No.
So can we take a picture?
Oh, sure, go right ahead.
Just because you say that there's a possibility that everyone could become a millionaire, if you're a young child and you're growing up in a household and there's not food there, or you have crime in your neighborhood, or anything else, and we can get into a whole conversation about how redlining the government and government programs
why that is.
and has pushed people into high crime areas and how African Americans have been disenfranchised. But just looking from this child's perspective, if you aren't able to eat and you have to worry about where you're going to get food, that creates a level of stress and PTSD that's difficult to overcome. So while the opportunity is there, the probability is not the same because of what's there. But if we provide good books, good school to all these kids, then we can say we have a great opportunity. And give you an example of myself.
Yeah, but that's not going to be done, or if I may.
Yeah, please.
I don't mean to...
I was just about to say, the high school I went to, I transferred because the first high school I went to was for a medical magnet program. I didn't receive school books for the first 2 months.
Right.
So I transferred to another school about 5 minutes down the street, which was a predominantly white school. I had brand new books. I had a book for class and I had a book for home. And it's that allocation of resources that affects, and you can say the same opportunity, but if you have a black student who is not provided with the books or the proper education, or is given substandard teachers by Teach for America or some other group, and then you have a white student who come, and we could just leave race out of it. If you have an affluent student whose parents knows a doctor who can get them Ritalin or Adderall, and they can go ahead and get extra time, that's not the same opportunity. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes, and I can tell you that everything you're saying is real in the sense that, and I just had this conversation with 2 people from New Zealand about how the powers that be.
Oh, do you mind if I take the story?
No, please, Roberto. Obviously got a busy man, I wouldn't be dressed up like that if I didn't have something to do myself.
Well, I actually have I had a meeting this morning discussing representation for individuals. In some of the courts, whenever a person's there, a judge isn't giving them counsel. You know, that's a fundamental right. You should have an attorney there all critical moments so that you don't have government overreach. So we're trying to see how can we find funding for this group to go ahead and have a study done to see if that's happening and what can be done to fix it. Right. So I have that, and then tonight I'm speaking at Implicit BAUS. Do
you have a card? I might need a good lawyer.
Well, I'm not going to represent you because I work for the Supreme Court. And
do you really?
Yeah. One, I can't, and 2, if you need me at the Supreme Court, you're in too much trouble.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but.
Hi, Ken, Mike. Pleasure to meet you, sir.
So next time you tell the story about a black person pulling himself up by their bootstraps and not thinking about race, to an extent, what I have is because I have willed myself there, but that will I have comes from people before me, and the ability to do it comes from people before me. So as much as I can say I had input on it, it was totally everyone else that did. So
well, we're all, to an extent, always helped by somebody. Nobody totally does it on their own. I mean, we all. I mean, the woman I was talking about, Iris Mack, Professor Iris Mack, it was her family that was, was a good Christian, hard work, cohesive family that helped her.
And that's what she had, but a lot of people don't have that.
Indeed. Oh, and look, the thing you brought up about the powers that be want to keep us all down, but and especially, and I don't know if I mean you're obviously black, you know this. You've been suffering it for hundreds of years. I mean, why do they have most of the Planned Parenthood clinics in black neighborhoods?
Well, I can tell you one good reason why it is there. Planned Parenthood does a lot more than just abortions. They do health screens, they do pap smears.
I understand that, but do you know where they get the history of Planned Parenthood?
Well, yeah, they're two points I want to make right quick. A lot of African American communities are communities where a lot of people don't have access to public transit to get around, so having it closer helps. 2, yes, the founder of Planned Parenthood did believe in eugenics, but we
still do.
Yeah, if we stopped as a black person, if I didn't use or did not agree with anything that started from a person who hated black people eugenics, I couldn't live in this country. I couldn't wear cotton. I couldn't work where I work. I couldn't drive on these streets.
Now, you mentioned the word reparations.
Yes.
That, of course, is being a political football right now, has been brought up.
I don't see how it will come to fruition, but I think it is something that's necessary.
Really?
Yeah.
How would it be employed? I mean, how would you...
I literally just said I don't know how it will come to fruition.
I mean, that would be the...
Yeah. Well, I mean...
but isn't that... I mean, let me ask you, shouldn't we have come to a time...
No.
that we move beyond this? I
No.
mean, haven't we, you know?
No.
You don't think so?
Not at all. Every other
Why
group,
keep on pulling off the scab? I mean, why keep on...
well, you're not the one that has the scab. You're literally on the outside looking at the person with the scab.
Oh, I got white privilege.
Yeah. But
So there are white people that get, you know...
yeah,
Because
but not,
right
but not,
now,
not
all
because of-
white guys are the ones getting...
That's bullshit.
You know, oh, really?
That's bullshit. That's total bullshit.
See, you're not an old white guy. You don't know.
No.
I've had people...
Touche. I will say this though. A place of power, you're a CEO of a company. Your employees don't like you. Your employees saying, fuck the boss. Are you being oppressed?
Well, it's a company. I mean,
Yeah.
but, you know...
All right,
We're talking about two different things
now
here. When you're talking about a company, that's not a democracy.
I'm talking about a place of power. Being white is a place of power still. And if you don't believe me, ask any white person if they would switch to be a black person.
Then it depends on what neighborhood you're in. I mean,
Generally, a black person. Any white guy, generally, would you switch to be a black person? It's known that being black, being Hispanic, it comes with a level of not being in power. So whenever you're in a place of not power,
again, it depends. If you're in the country of origin where that person is or is originated, then yeah, you're the one in power. As I said,
all right, Africa,
I'll give you an idea.
Let's talk about Africa.
There was the Prime Minister of Turkey was in the paper yesterday saying, any New Zealanders come to this country, they're going to go back in a coffin. Now, was that racist?
Well, no, that's talking about your nationality. Now, if you say any American come over here, that's not racist. That's nationality. Now, if you say any black person, any white person, then you're talking about race. There are black people and Aboriginals in New Zealand. New Zealand didn't just come out of fruition. It was inhabited by people, and then the original people there were killed, and now it's known to be.
But do you see a lot of, institutionalized racism still?
Yes.
You do?
Oh, I go in the courtrooms and they ask me, I'm sorry, defendants sit over there. I go, or they'll say, oh, I'm sorry, you're the victim then? And they don't believe that I'm the attorney. And that's happened to me throughout courts in Louisiana.
Yeah.
There are times where I got in a car accident because I was driving back from work. And this young white lady plows into the back of me, pushes me into a car in front of me. I wait for the cops to get there. I'm in a suit. I'm in a BMW. Cops come up. Oh, is this your car? As if I can't afford. Then they write up the police report to say that I was at fault and say I hit the guy in front of me and then she hit me, which doesn't make sense because I was pushed by her. And they said, well, she said she saw that. I was like, she saw me hit the person, but then couldn't stop and then hit.
See, it's a good thing you're an attorney.
Yeah, right. I ain't with the bullshit. But I say that to say that. Do I see the same type of racism that my father faced? No. My grandfather? No. And my grandfather's father had to cut his brother out.
But this is, again, yes, it exists. And yes, it's still, just like the assumptions people are going to make about you, people make assumptions about me.
Yeah, certainly.
People be, how many times, I could go like a half dozen times today, they're going to be people coming by, come here, call me a white racist Nazi, just because why?
You do have a racist on your board. I will say that.
I do not look at him as a racist. I do not think he's a racist. Again, that's a matter of opinion.
Yeah.
So, but again, people are making value judgments just because of the way I look, because I got a Trump thing up here.
He's a racist.
Oh, wait a second.
He is.
Oh, come on.
Central Park 5.
Oh, yeah, but look, with 400% increase in black employees, put money into the economic zones. I've talked to people that have worked for him out here, at least 24 people that work for him. I talked to a Latino gardener for him that says he came out, went out, talked to everyone in the crew, came up, said, you're doing a great job, put a lot of money in his hand. He put up a black woman for 2 years in Trump Tower without... and gave her food and put flowers once a week in her thing. Didn't ask her to publicize the thing at all. No.
Yeah,
I've talked to too many people that of color that had direct dealings with Trump, that benefited from those, that he did not look at for any publication at or anything else. He just did it out of the goodness of his being. So,
I thought you were about to say hard. I was like, don't go too far. I'm joking with you. But
no, I can't see it.
Two things. He might put one black woman in Trump Tower, but he was sued for discriminating against people of color and putting C on their applications when they would try to apply for.
Was that him or his managers, or who was it? I mean, when you have a large corporation, you're going to get people under you that will not abide by what you might think.
Yeah, but it's the type of culture you build. In no way can the fish rots from the head, and you can say that one thing, he may not be him, but with him taking out a full-page ad and saying the not Little Rock 9, I was reading about them yesterday, the Central Park 5, these guys who did not commit this crime should be executed for rape, which is not typically people aren't executed for, because there were 5 black men. Then you tell the first African-American president, you're not smart enough to go to Harvard, I need to see your transcript. Oh, you weren't born here, you must be from Africa, I want to see your birth certificate. Those are tropes of racism. And one of them...
Well, wait a second. If you want... I would go to court with you on this one.
All right.
If you look at the evidence of Obama's birth certificate, look at it. Look at the evidence of Obama's birth certificate.
You know what? If you would have had this conversation with me, if I had the information about the birth certificate probably 7-10 years ago, I might say, all right, the birth certificate looks funny. But I looked at my wife's birth certificate from New York in 1986, and it is not the same as the birth certificate we have here. And different places have different places. Different birth certificates. But you would have
on the first day, it was shown to be a forgery.
You would have to believe that.
And one of Obama's own attorneys, looked at it and said it wasn't a forgery.
Yeah.
And then why the transcripts? Why can't we get his transcripts? Why, to this day...
Have we gotten Trump's transcripts?
We haven't... Well, why can't we don't... From his school, it's an open book. But why can we not get Obama's... nobody remembers him being at Columbia, for crying out loud.
Well, there's very few people who remember me from my undergrad experience. Now, if you talk about people remembering from law school, everyone knew me. But undergrad, I was just trying to get through. And I'm not trying to make excuses for it, but even if that is the case, you have to believe that his parents from Kenya went ahead and sent a newspaper article to a Hawaii newspaper to go ahead and print on that day, just so that in 40 years, their son could run to be president.
There's a good documentary to watch.
That's Fuku Manchurian candidate type stuff.
You're familiar with Frank Marshall Davis?
I heard the name before. Okay. But I don't know what he does, but I've heard the name.
Frank Marshall Davis was one of the top communists in the country, living in Hawaii. When Obama's mother's family moved to Hawaii, she was at the age of 16. She rebelled because, you took me away from my friends, blah, blah, blah. She started dating Frank Marshall Davis. Now, you can see pictures of her with Frank Marshall Davis. You can see pictures of her in his apartment, on his couch. He got her pregnant. Obama said that Frank Marshall Davis raised him. That was a mentor. Well, her father, Obama's mother, was one of the top CIA agents. He could not very well have his daughter marrying one of the top communists in the country. Obama's father, alleged father, was trying to get in Harvard but didn't have the grades. All of a sudden, he was approached by the CIA father. Says, we will get you into Harvard if you marry my daughter. That's why after 2 weeks, he left, went bye-bye. It was an arranged marriage. So when you see the pictures of Frank Marshall Davis and Obama side by side, you absolutely see the resemblance.
Frank Marshall Davis, white or black?
Black. So you can see the resemblance. I mean, you could see there's no doubting that Frank Marshall Davis is Obama's father.
So then you're saying that 2 Americans in Hawaii...
I'm saying that Obama was a CIA bought and paid for before it was birthed. That he was a Manchurian candidate to be put into place where he was.
So then you're saying that he was born in America and not Kenya, and then the request for a birth certificate of the first black president, even Manchurian, who was born in America, is racist. If you're requesting someone who's born in America because they're black, you never ask any of the white presidents for their birth certificate. Okay. if you ask any of the...
I'm saying that Obama was a forgery from the beginning.
Yeah, but...
He's had 4 different names.
Well, let's look at the facts. And I've had a couple myself.
Barry Soetoro.
Well, what's his mom's maiden name? Soetoro?
No.
Is that his grandparents' name?
I think that came from his second marriage, if I remember.
Yeah, so he took his mother's spouse name. That's common. But if you're saying that this person who was born in America and just happens to be the first black president and the current 45 decides that he needs to request his birth certificate but never requested Clinton, Bush, Reagan, or anyone else, that is racist. He's doing it because he's black. He didn't ask anyone else.
I do it because I'm saying that there's a question of it. That question was brought up by the fact that, that if there was a question, one, of where he was born and who his father was.
Why
because
was
he was never vetted. When you look, then why didn't they discover it? Because again, if you look at the evidence, you're a lawyer, look at the evidence, look at a picture of Frank Marshall Davis next to Obama.
Look, if his dad is Frank Marshall Davis, it doesn't sway me. It's like, all right, his mom. So
Obama being the son of one of the top communists in the country, who's
this is not North Korea. We don't punish the children for the sins of the parent. That's what they do in North Korea. If you're a parent,
no. We have got a long. You just brought it up, the heritages of that goes a long way back.
But now.
So
I can take a picture with you. I'm sorry.
I'd love to be seen with pretty women.
Can you do that? Thank you.
One. Oh, let's do this. Stand right here.
Right in the middle.
Yeah,
of the road.
You're gonna get a little bit more light. 1, 2, 3. Oh, it's because he's so tall. You're in his shadow.
Thank you.
No, if it was me, I'll just put a shadow on your knee.
Will you marry me? Damn.
You should go talk to her.
Her and a cold glass of water would kill me.
Oh, just make sure you take some Bayer before.
I'm saying that, and let me get more conspiratorial on this. There are, and we have been controlled. This country was, we can go a long way back and look at who started this country and the Masons and the Illuminati and go all the way back to it. And the fact that we're not even a nation, we're a corporation now.
You don't hear me disagreeing with you.
No.
I agree. And
yeah, so there are bigger forces going on that will try to get us fighting about the more nuanced parts of who's ruling what, who got control, and who's doing this, and even the racism, which they do this, they keep us at each other's throats.
Yeah, but then when you have a stage photo like this, this picture is bullshit, because...
Yeah, but it still symbolizes something that's real. Sure, go right ahead.
Even the symbolism is real. And the reason why is because if we have police violence against citizens, we should not be looking for young, new to the world black kids to run and hug them to fix it. We have to look for these adults who are in these places of power to fix their work.
Do you think that all police are racist, or to me, it's like attorneys would go in. You go in to basically, you want to help see justice.
Well, not all. I actually went to law school with a lot of people who were like, I just want to put people in jail. I want to be a prosecutor. I don't really want to help people. This is what... Somebody's going the wrong way. Yeah, I want to do this. Yeah. And there's other...
They can pay off the state budget with it.
Really?
Oh, you kidding me?
Yeah. But there's some police officers who go in and say, I just want to fuck people up, And
but you would hope they get weeded out. They don't. I know, but usually they're put into those squads where there are other like-minded idiots, and those are the kill squads and whatnot.
They shouldn't be policed at all.
Oh, indeed.
But also we have
to go along with you there.
We have to look at the issue, regardless if you're a good police or a bad police. The amount of stress that police and serotonin that's pumped into their brain is a level that gives them PTSD, and we have to deal with getting police more help. so that they don't have moments of I was afraid of myself.
Training, I believe it. Yeah,
Training, therapy.
Yeah,
we have to be more holistic in our approach. This doesn't fix it. This is bullshit. This is a false flag. This is fake reconciliation. What we need to do is we need to have a true conversation about what does it mean to have proper policing and make sure that police feel safe.
Yes.
We aren't. We rather look at a picture like this and say, oh, look.
Well, again, I go back to the powers that be that are fostering an environment where people do not trust the police.
Yeah, the whole creation of race is based on the fact that they want to separate the black people from the poor white
and
people.
they do want to, have us at odds with one another. They want the black fighting the white and fighting the...
It's easier.
Yes. It's control. This way they can get away with what they're doing where we're fighting amongst each other.
I promise you I'll come back.
Hey, that's wonderful. I hope so.
Yeah, I'm going to grab lunch. I got to get back to the office. But
all right.
All right.
It's a pleasure talking to you.
All right.
So, what did you think? I think Ken's got some strong opinions, but I'm not all sure that all those opinions are where I want him to be. But hey, anyway, if you like it, you can share. If you can, support me, and we'll keep this fight going. Okay. God bless you all, and I'll see you on the street soon because I got a lot more videos coming. Okay, here we go. Bye-bye.